Avengers Infinity War, Magic the Gathering Arena, and The Cursed Book. This is Staying In. How you doing, Chris?
I'm okay, buddy. A little bit worse for wear.
Yeah.
After the weekend that we had. Hey, what a weekend that was.
I mean, actually, today, day of recording, is exactly 3 years since we were on Dan's Stag Do.
Really?
And I'd love to say that just like that many years ago, we were having some sort of stag-like event that of the weekend. We were, going go-karting. What else we do at Dan's Stag? Rescued a ram in the middle of a field where a man with no trousers told us to save it. Playing darts, drinking terrible knockoff vodka.
Pencil Museum.
Mm-hmm. Pencil Museum. I wish we'd done all of that. Really, really, genuinely, I'd wish we'd gone to the Pencil Museum.
Yeah.
But
instead, I got beaten up by your utility room.
Now, this has to be prefaced by the continuing bad luck and bad omen that is Peter Willington, who...
The albatross of the group.
Yeah, seemingly, since buying... What book have you been reading?
It is Tractatus Logico Philosophicus by Wittgenstein.
Sounds like light reading.
Yes. Well, it's thinner than you think it is.
It might as well be the Necromonicon.
But since buying this book, and this is my theory,
yeah.
Pete has been struck with incredible bad luck and a horrible curse that has now gone on so bad that it's affected all of us.
And public transports.
International transport.
International transport, yeah.
Bikes.
Any kind of transport, basically.
The transport of blood in a pressurised form around Chris's body. Yeah.
So, should we walk through what happened?
Well, please, because I wasn't there. This is all news to me. I've purposely stayed out of finding out what happened because I knew we'd be talking about it.
This is why this episode is actually going out late, because we usually like to go out on the 1st and the 15th. And it's a good excuse, I think. It's a pretty good excuse.
Just about, I would say.
So, Chris, walk us through it up until the point that you feel that you need to hand over.
Well, for obvious reasons, as will come later, you will need to fill in some of the gaps. Because there is a gap of about 30 to 40 seconds.
Oh, Chris, mentally you were out for longer than that.
Yeah,
I mean,
way
physically,
longer,
I know.
Yeah. But there was part of me that was like, oh my God, we've broken him.
Yeah.
So, we'd had a lovely day watching Infinity War, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, we'll talk about Infinity War at the end, just in case anyone wants to skip it. Who wwants to miss this?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, this has been frontline for a very good reason. So coming back after that, we decided to show Pete Spider-Man: Homecoming. It was a great film, good fun.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man's one of Pete's favourite comic book characters.
Mm-hmm.
It was very nice, very relaxed. I was quite tired. I'd had a very long week at work, very tired. Yeah. And at the end of the film, I got up to go to use the bathroom.
Actually, no.
It's already affecting you.
The film, yeah, exactly. You've already forgotten part of what happened. We'd finished watching the film.
Yeah.
Had a little bag of M&Ms mixed.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never, every handful should be a surprise.
Unless you have a severe nut allergy.
That's true.
Still a surprise, Dan.
Still be a surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. I decided that I wanted to watch an episode of Budgie on YouTube. So we started watching. We started watching Budgie, and then we got to an episode of Tugs. Do you remember Tugs, Dan?
Oh gosh, yeah.
And I believe it was during the intro of Rude Dog and the Dweebs that Chris left the room. Yep. And then, Chris, you can pick up the story.
Yeah, so I picked it up. I was quite groggy, quite dizzy, because I was quite tired, and it's the effect that Budgie has on you. And I went to the bathroom. Sam's got a lovely bathroom, Sam and Lisa. Lovely little compact downstairs bathroom.
It's lovely.
Yep.
Walk in. It's basically quite small. To your right, you've got this little toilet. All went well. washing my hands, and then I remember waking up on the floor.
Okay, cut.
Yeah, cut. That's it.
Russo brother style cut to Titan, but it wasn't Titan. It was the sofa.
Yeah. So then we hear. So we're like, oh, you know, Chris has gone off. He's going to miss whatever it is in the Dweebs intro. And then we hear.
Shall I try and recreate the sound?
Yeah, go on. See if you can.
Slowly art it.
It was a bit like this.
Yeah.
Obviously less musical because Chris isn't a guitar.
No, but it was about that, wasn't it? And we thought, well, maybe Chris has knocked something off, and then we were like, Chris. Now it was on that fourth Chris that I think we got worried.
Yeah, and then I went to the toilet, and then I heard the reverse of what I just did. So like the, I was like, "Hi, Chris." And Chris, I heard some rustling, and Chris's response to me was, "It's all right. I've just been asleep." And I mean, I once went to uni with a guy who fell asleep in the shower.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too like, okay. But I was like, yeah, you don't just fall asleep on the toilet.
No. Not unless it's you've been in there for the long haul. But yeah.
So I sort of walked away. Then Chris came out. Pete walked into Chris, not literally.
No.
And then Pete turned to me and went, "You've got to call an ambulance." And then events sort of started from there.
Yeah. So,
because I was in no pain, I thought, I may have just like cut my head.
Because you had a concussion, Chris.
Sleep it off. Pete was like, no, you need to call a paramedic. I thought, oh no, I don't want to be a drain on the NHS.
And if you're thinking if Chris is saying any of this for comic effect, he genuinely said, Dan, he genuinely said, "Oh, don't call an ambulance. I just want to go to sleep." While blood was pouring down the side of his neck.
And Sam and I were, I think, rightfully slightly concerned at this point. So we were like, okay. So Sam went off and phoned an ambulance and did a very good job of
dialing 3 numbers,
providing an accurate description. And I was sat with you, and you were just like, just let me lie back, just have a little sleep here. I just want to go to sleep, and it'll be all right.
Demonstrating all the signs of someone who has had a concussion.
But then, Dan, what happened was that obviously, quite often when you're concussed, which is what happened to me, I didn't realise you feel quite queasy and quite sick, and I could sense I was going to be sick. Sam clocked onto that fact. He said, "Pete, grab a bowl." Now, Dan, imagine this. I'm in your living room. Dan, imagine I'm sat in your living room, and I tell you, get a bowl. I'm going to be sick. What kind of bowl would you grab, Dan?
Oh God, he got you a cereal bowl, didn't he?
No, worse than that.
What is the best bowl? What is the best vessel or vestibule to catch vomit?
Surely a washing up bowl.
Brilliant.
Surely, or a bucket. That's what you get.
What do you think Pete grabbed?
I'm thinking cereal bowl. I'm thinking like an ashtray.
No.
I'm thinking.
What house? Dan, things. I know we haven't seen each other in a while.
Okay, like a little candy dish type thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's more like me. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no.
In the same shape, what would 20 years ago have been an ashtray?
Yeah, sure. Well, no.
I'm imagining.
No. Instead, what really happened was I just got off the phone to a lovely lady, first responder at the NHS, to find my pears, my oranges, my bananas and apples strewn across the counter to walk in to Chris with my fruit bowl, which incidentally sits right next to the washing up bowl. And I walked in and went, "Oh, Chris presumably threw up in the fruit bowl."
So in my right hand, I had Chris's. I was holding a bowl and had Chris's sick on my right hand, and on my left hand, I had Chris's blood. Pouring out of a 1/2-inch gash.
Yeah.
On the back of his head. So at this point, So Chris was just about starting to come round, starting to get just about lucid. Yeah. So basically, we get the ambulance coming out, and really nice guy turns up, and and he's like, he's obviously, asking all the important details, and he does genuinely, like, I'll preload all of this with, he did an amazing job and was
incredible,
super professional up to the point,
and patient.
Oh, and patient, right up to the point where, like, it was obvious that Chris was quote unquote fine, and obviously needed to go somewhere else. He needed to go to A&E, but like it was okay. So he was all very professional with that. But then he had to. So he was basically. He said, "Okay, can I get your name?" And obviously, Chris needed to provide all these details, and I'm sure it's partly a way of,
I can see where this is going.
So he says, "So what's your name?" And he starts going through it, and then Sam says, "He says, I will bet you that you have not got the correct spelling of that name on that sheet." and he sort of looked at Sam like, like, I'm not an idiot,
you little shit. F*** off.
Yeah, f*** off. I'm a fucking hero.
His name's Christopher. I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
You guys are hammered watching kids' TV. Don't lecture me.
So the long and short of it is that he filled the forms out. I was fine enough to go in a taxi rather than ambulance, and we had to Scooby-Doo style split up. So Sam stayed with Poppy.
Yep.
I tried to stay awake. Can I just have that on the record?
Yeah. No, that's fine. No, Sam, honestly. But both of you...
I put on Hellboy on Netflix and I thought, this is interesting.
And so, parallel to that, Hellboy, Pete and I get in a taxi.
The taxi drive was very pleasant, I must admit. It's the best public transport.
I even know I was going to be sick because you kept talking about food the whole way.
Pete, you told me about this taxi journey when I was taking you back to the bus station, and you were giving him business advice, telling him to set up like a taco bus.
Honestly, Sam, it was like a bloody chat show. And at that point, I thought, geez, Pete's voice just wants to make me be sick. No matter what he's saying, his voice, I just want to be sick.
Oh, God.
And... honestly, like, he went on, and that taxi driver went on a longer journey than we did in terms of where Pete took him. It was incredible. And Pete is such a friendly person. He's such a friendly person. He'll make mates with anyone, even taxi drivers at 1 or 2 in the morning.
So hopefully I've convinced him to open up a food truck, because he basically makes...
Yeah, he did, honestly.
He's a really nice guy. He makes this really cool traditional Indian food. He's, like, really well into it. And he was like, I'd really like to open a restaurant, but it's a little bit too high risk. And I was like, yeah, it is a bit high risk at the moment. Like, it's really difficult. You could open up like a food truck. It's like a really big thing out in the States. And he was like, food trucks, what's that all about? And so we had a really nice conversation about how he could do that and how he could be on the cutting edge of Manchester's haute cuisine.
I mean, they got to the hospital at this point, but Pete was still giving advice.
I was just like, listen.
The guy starts taking detours.
So
we get into A&E.
Yeah.
Front desk. Yeah. We're told straight away, Dan, it's going to be a 5-hour wait.
Good times.
It's 2 a.m. at this point, by the way.
Yeah, we got there about 2 a.m, so we knew by about 7 I'd be seen. So fortunately, I'd taken a graphic novel for me to read, Ed Brubaker's Batman, which Sam had talked about in the previous pod. Pete also brought his light and frothy reading that he's still trying to wade through.
Yep, Wittgenstein.
That he took with him on holiday, still hasn't finished.
Yep.
The cursed book.
Yep. And we sat there for 7 hours in total.
Yep. Until we got seen.
Meanwhile, I'm waking up. Right.
Yeah.
New dawn, new day.
Birds tweeting outside.
Sam texts me saying, I don't think we're going to do a podcast today because Chris is in A&E.
And yeah, so we're there. Like, me and Pete occasionally chatting instances, but we're quite tired. We haven't properly slept. We kind of doze in and out of consciousness.
Yeah.
And we saw everything there. You're seeing various different people. It's not a nice sight. And bless them, the A&E staff were incredible.
Yeah, they were great.
People in different degrees of pain. There was one guy who was in handcuffs who was just doing the rounds.
Yeah, because he'd headbutted this other guy. And he had like this massive gash up his forehead, and he was just sauntering around in his handcuffs, sauntering around, and all the policemen around him were sort of like, "Oh, there he is." Like, I mean, all right then.
There were some low points because we had about 7 hours of Heart FM and Michael Bublé and Ed Sheeran. It's like, God, Dante's Seventh Circle of Hell.
So that wasn't the most fun, but it was all sorts, wasn't it?
Oh god, it's crazy. And then I finally down I was seeing, because it was bizarre, because literally it was like in a video game, like I'm currently playing Horizon Zero Dawn, so obviously a day lasts 40 minutes, so you can see the passage of time. It was like that. I was watching the sky above me, dawn break and like start to stream through, and then I was seeing, and the paramedic had told me that my the gash on the back of my neck would need gluing. So okay, it'll just be like, I don't know, PVA, glue gun, whatever. I don't know.
Bit of Pritt stick.
Yeah.
Walked in. The lady said, "Oh, it's all right. It's not going to be stitches." I was like, "Oh, phew. Don't want stitches. It's going to be the staples." I was like, "You what?"
Sorry. Excuse me.
Meanwhile, I arrive.
Yeah, that's when Sam turns up, like the American cavalry.
Sam's finished breakfast.
When I'm lying on my front with this lovely nurse, who's fantastic, by the way, armed with a staple gun, essentially.
Literally.
She's going, maybe you need 2. And I said, yeah, 2. And she's, no, actually 3. You're going to need 3. I said, yeah, let's keep it odd. 3. That's a good solid number. So you sat there, lying on your front. She did 3 staples, wasn't happy with the 3rd one, so she took it out, put the 4th one in.
Did she pull out one of those staple removers, the little jaw things?
No, this is the funny thing. I've still got the staples in my head now. I've got to keep them in for 5 days. And she's given me the thing to remove them. So basically I've got to go to a walk-in clinic on the Friday and get them removed. I have essentially stationery in the back of my head, and it's pretty weird. Particularly when you walk out into the cold.
I mean, to say stationery, something tells me it wasn't just like bought from a local stationer's.
I saw them. They are staples. They are just stationary staples. I mean, they're not. They're like medical, but they are. But you could use the same staples for putting together your presentation at GCSE or whatever. Yeah. Like they were just normal staples. Just the machine that she used, like, seals them up as they're going in, like all in one action. That's the only difference between that and a normal stapler you get at Ryman's.
Yeah, I mean, it's not because the government is severely underfunding the NHS that they're forced to resort to other means. But yeah, so basically I've got these staples back in my head, and that was that really. So I came back, and there was still this faint glimmer of hope that we'd still be able to record the podcast, but we were just too shattered, me and Pete. So we both went and had a kip in our respective rooms.
Yeah, I sat downstairs playing Zelda for hours.
Yeah,
Sam, you were ready for the podcast.
Yeah,
you were committed to getting it out on time. It's these lazy sods.
So what I'll do is, I'll put an image of what Chris looked like up on the on the social feeds, so that people can see.
Chris was so exhausted and ill, he couldn't even finish a slice of toast. Which, if you've listened to this podcast before, you'll realise, hell, that's bad.
It's a kind of
magic, do. Dan's left. Dan's gone.
Dan's like,
He's
fuck
had
this.
enough.
Dan's like, fuck this shit. I'm not listening to magic. Look at him. He's like, I've talked. Dan's like, I'm not going to listen to you talk about magic. Like,
Jesus Christ.
Blimey, no.
You just made lots of work for me there.
So I dropped off the magic thing for like a couple of years, right? Like, I don't know if you've been playing it, Sam. Like, I mean, like, I haven't bought a new magic set since Shadows over Innistrad, and I didn't really play that. I just kind of looked at them and went, "Ooh, these are cool."
Yeah, I spent lots of money with Shadows over Innistrad building a rat deck.
Yeah,
because I thought that would be fun.
That'd be cool.
And I built it, and I thought, this is fun. And then some of my cards went up in the loft, and then some of my other cards went into the drawer. Yeah. And since then, I'm actually I've got a play date on Thursday, and I might play a little bit of Magic.
Ooh.
Then.
But that's the problem with Magic. The problem with Magic is you need somebody who also plays Magic in your life, and really you need like a couple of people, and they have to be close. As in, they have to be close in proximity to you, and you need to play them regularly. Because if you don't, then there isn't that...
There's no need to buy any more cards.
No, because you're just like, well, if I'm not going to play this regularly, then why am I going to drop X amount of money on it every single time? Whatever you feel is the right amount of money to spend on Magic at that point.
It's all about the meta.
It's all about the meta, and you're certainly not going to keep up to. You're not going to keep playing in like standard. So standard is basically a sets of cards, and these are like tournament legal. So if you were to take them to a Friday Night Magic at the local Sweaty Boy shop, for example, like. At some point, your cards are unplayable because you can't take them to that, so you can't be around those people. So you have to be around friends who are happy playing like Legacy or Vintage, which is like much bigger, wider pool of stuff. And so I kind of dropped out of it. I think it was Eldritch Moon. Where I was just like, okay,
yeah.
And then I saw that they were doing. I've always liked playing digital Magic, but Again, it's never been something where I've really sunk a load of time because I've never really thought, I'll get into the online because it's not actually quite Magic, with Magic Duels or Magic Duels of the Planeswalkers or any of those. It was never quite Magic, and it certainly didn't have the depth and breadth of in terms of the card pools. And then this Arena beta has been around. So Arena is it's a free-to-play Magic. It's bonkers that I have to say this, but it is Magic the Gathering in a digital form. Like there's no simplification. There's no it's basically Magic, but it is digital Magic, and it is being made, as far as I know, by Wizards in-house, so they are spending very obviously quite a lot of money making this thing with some very smart people, because it's amazing in how it actually handles the flow, the phases of Magic, these different very relatively complex things that you can potentially break the flow of the game with, and how it actually communicates that to the player.
And more importantly, the first thing you do when you boot up the game is open lots of booster packs.
Yep. That's the big thing, right? Like, yeah. But like, it's free to play, and that immediately made me go because free to play economy on Magic and those kinds of games can be a little bit daunting. It was a little bit naff with Duels, for example. And it was fine, but it was. But we got into the beta, you and I. And
we did.
We went into it, and kind of like I was really hoping that it would be really good, and I was really, it was. So like
it's good.
It is good, isn't it? It's a beta at the moment, so it's quite bare bones.
But it's good for me, who's been out of the Magic cycle for quite some time, because the new sets are in there, like Amonkhet and, to sound really childish, lots of stuff with dragons and pirates.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of like
a natural pairing.
Yeah, exactly. Like they've just added Dominaria, which is the latest set, which is where they go back to, supposedly they go back to where the realm that Magic originally began, because it's like 30 years of Magic, basically. Is it 30 years? No, it can't be 30 years, can it? No, 25. 25 years of Magic. So they keep it updated. They're adding more stuff all the time. And the boosters, I've been unlocking those. You get them really quickly, and it's all built around you earn them through challenges,
kind
of every single day,
almost like achievements, kill 20 creatures and
win with a red-black deck twice. Yeah.
So it's that encouragement to keep you playing is good, actually. And I've also heard that they're trialing in New Zealand the fact that if you buy the physical boosters, you'll get money off, or you get access to some other cards within the digital realm, which I've kind of been waiting for a card game like this to do for years.
Yeah.
I would have bought up all of the Sky Realms expansion packs if I knew that when I bought them physically, I'd get money off them digitally. I just don't understand why there's the market's so fragmented in that way. I think it's just ridiculous. But I mean, the problem I have with Magic Online, well, I should say Magic the Gathering Arena and all of the other virtual digital Magic platforms, is just because there's always a chance for me to see other ways of playing and new cards that are coming through. I just never get the chance that you do in the physical game.
Yeah.
So usually when we play with my friends, they'll be like, "Oh, I've developed a new deck." And then as you play it, you go, "Oh, what's that card?" And, you'd look at it and share it and go, "Oh, but..." And then it would be like, "Oh, and this card affects this way." And look at the synergy of how they're working together. And for me, that's the scintillating, that's the incredible part of Magic. It's just like, you've sat down with a deck and in your head you've worked out this little mini puzzle of how this is going to work with that and how the theme of it works with this. And that's the beauty of it. And it's still a wonderful thing. In the Magic the Gathering Arena, I've had my ass handed to me with some incredible plays, with some pirate dinosaur shit going on, but I have no idea what's happened. Like, everything happens so fast, almost like in that tournament style of play. That I wish there was just like a way of kind of like, other than playing the cards myself, just a way to kind of enjoy how other people are playing.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason. So as I say, it feels bare bones at the moment. Like, if this is what is released, it will be a very good game of Magic with a very limited scope. As in, it'll just be ranked, it'll just be online, it'll just be the latest stuff, and you'll have to kind of deal with that. Like, there's no tutorial. Like, at the moment, the beta has been only going out to people who are into Magic, like, who know how to play it, because if it's not it's not sitting there waiting for you to learn how to play the actual game of Magic. It's not interested in that at the moment.
But do you think that people picking up this game will be people who've never played the actual physical card?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. This will be a channel into paper, and also as part of this, I think they also want to make this its own product, but this will also be a way into basically purchasing Magic, because that is the thing with free to play. Because the barrier to entry is effectively zero, you get to a situation where if anybody has even the smallest inkling to play Magic, you can do it. I mean, you can go into a sweaty boy shop tomorrow and go and ask them to play to give you a like a sample deck. Basically, there are certain Wizards approved, I think, stores where you can go in, they'll give you a sample deck and you can keep it. And it's like this little thin 15 card, 30 card, wherever it is, and you can figure out how to play Magic and how it actually works out, and somebody will introduce you how the game actually works. And that's really important, because you need somebody to teach you how to play Magic. Like,
you do, yeah.
Like, if you sit there and try and read the rules online, like, good luck. But
you can. The rules of Magic are one page.
Sure. But then it's things like, cool, what does trample mean? And like, when, like, it's also things like, when can I cast this? Like, so for example, you can play only one land in your turn, but you can either play it at the start of your turn, or you can play it towards the end of your turn, or there's little different parts and phases where you can play this one land card, and when you play that land can be really important. And none of those things will actually be taught to you, by just reading the rules, because you won't know to look for those things. So I think that it will be that gateway in. Yes. However, I guess what I was coming to is, this is a beta, and I know for a fact like that it is going to have more added to it. So I'm hoping that they will add a play your pals mode, because I would really love nice. like you and I now, we have quite, like, having played MTG Arena, like, we now have quite a collection of cards, and at some point they will fall out of standard, but it would be really cool if you and me could just sit together and go, I'd like to play this thing, and not have any time limits whatsoever. So that I can show you how this new deck of mine works, or how this old, or let's have a laugh and just like figure out what all these super powerful cards are and how they all play, and like,
that'd be nice.
That would be really nice. So so I'm going to keep playing it and seeing how that goes. But I'm definitely, it's drawing me back in. Magic's...
Me too. Yeah, it's definitely one of those hooks. Is just like the different ways to play and the different designs.
And the fact that there is now a community of people that I can play against.
Well, what?
Just like Dan's brain has just melted under the magic.
That the answer to this question, I don't want it to be because it's Magic the Gathering. Okay. But for people who are fans of Hearthstone, what about this will make them move from Hearthstone over to this? And obviously, the answer shouldn't be because it's Magic the Gathering.
No.
If they like Hearthstone, what's going to make them move over?
They won't.
I wouldn't say move over.
No.
Okay, well, what's going to make them try this as well if they're happy with Hearthstone?
Because just because I'm happy with chicken burger doesn't mean that I wouldn't want chicken nuggets. Like it's like.
Yeah.
That's their slogan, isn't it, for this?
Yeah, should be on their marketing team.
Magic the Gathering, the chicken burger to your chicken nugget.
Hearthstone, while it is an easy comparison to make between Hearthstone and Magic, because there are similarities. Actually, Hearthstone plays quite differently, and Magic is it is a very different beast. Certainly high level. It is very different to Hearthstone. I think this is not a either or situation. It is a you could just play both of them. You know, like I'm not going to. I've been playing Star Realms on my phone as well. I'm not going to give up Star Realms just because I'm playing Ascension. In the same way that I wouldn't give up Magic. Or I wouldn't give up another card game just because Magic's come along. I think
so they do fundamentally play differently. They are there, and obviously I know. Obviously, we've had long discussions in the past where I've demonstrated my lack of interest in Magic the Gathering, and that's fine. It's not a game for me.
No.
Just like Hearthstone wasn't a game for me, but I'm aware of it as being quite a big deck building digital game.
I mean,
they're not fundamentally different,
no,
and they're not deck building games.
No,
the crux of the games is the same. You use power to cast spells that are creatures that harm your opponent. I mean, that is the fundamentals of both the games. But mechanically, they are very, very, very different in how they utilize the distribution of that power.
In the same way, again, that Gin Rummy is fundamentally the same as, I don't know, Pontoon. Like, in that you have cards, there are rules and mechanics, and cards go in and out of hands, played to spaces. Like, at the end of the day, it's a trading card game, and a lot of trading card games feel the same. But that would be like saying Magic is like Hearthstone is like saying that Magic is like Pokemon cards or like Yu-Gi-Oh or like that Final Fantasy rubbish. Like, it's all. They all have similarities, but they also go in very, very different directions. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. Like, there isn't anything that's quite like Magic in that way. I mean, personally, Dan, spoilers. I don't think you're going to like this, and I certainly wouldn't suggest you play it without the tutorial. Like, you would need somebody to sit you down and play the game first of all.
Pete, spoilers.
Yeah.
I'm not going to play this.
Exactly. So, but I wouldn't recommend it to you. But I think if you've played Magic previously, you should try and get in on the beta because, I want to spend more time with it to really think about like how it handles just presenting gameplay mechanics. So I want to talk about that at length at some point. But I know this podcast is going on. So, but it is, if you've played Magic before, it's well worth getting in on the beta because you'll find a lot to like there. And then I think once they've got it to a point where it's happy and moving on quite nicely and there's a tutorial and stuff, I think it will be a really good way to dip your toe into the water and see how it all works out. And oh man, Sam, open packets.
But the annoying thing was that we didn't really get a chance to actually play anything over the weekend, games-wise.
Well, we did. We played a little bit. We played Race for the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you brought that up. Yeah, that was actually really
Chris
interesting.
and I played Starfighter, and Schnapsen.
Actually, we just played card games, didn't we, on the weekend?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did. We did just play card games. I got to use my Hungarian deck of cards for the first time.
Oh yeah, because we haven't talked about this yet. We also went on holiday.
We did, and whose plane was delayed when they went on holiday because they're reading a fucking book that's cursed.
That's cursed. Oh no! I need to get rid of it. I'm going to read it and finish it, and it's gone. Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, so we also went to. As well as head wounds, we also decided to go on holiday. This was a couple of weeks ago now. So we went to Salzburg, Vienna, and Budapest.
Yeah, the big three.
The big three. So that was Sam, myself, and Chris. And Dan didn't come along because he was on Toby duty, which is fair enough. Unfortunately, you can't just leave. I've heard you can't just leave children in a house locked up with like extra food.
No, that's not how it works.
It's not how it works, is it?
It's really not.
Extra food, extra nappies. They're not.
Considering, I imagine you didn't do that for your rabbit.
Then yeah, yeah, they're not in.
I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say children require slightly more attention than a rabbit.
Well, fine. I mean, you haven't met my rabbit, but yeah. So we went out to what would you call it? Eastern Europe?
Well, that is technically where it is. I mean,
Eastern Europe, I suppose it is, isn't it?
I'm not a geography professor, but it is east of where we are and in Europe.
That's true.
So
that's true. And it was tippity top fun, basically.
That's great.
It was brilliant fun.
Wall to wall sunshine, 21 degrees min, 28 degrees max.
Beautiful
Beer that's 80p.
Salzburg was I absolutely adored it. Just like wandering around Salzburg, like really nice old town feel. It's where they filmed that.
Go on. Here we go. I mean, we were there. Lisa did not stop talking about it while we were in Salzburg. We went to the monastery.
Yep.
We actually went to the fountain.
Let's see if I can guess it before Pete by you naming things from.
No, Dan, it's the film where they're running around in the hills and there's Nazis.
I mean, yeah.
Obviously, I know what this is. I can't believe you're not naming it right now.
They're running around in the hills and there's Nazis.
Their hearts are beating. You could say they were alive.
Right.
I mean, would you say that the hills are full of anything?
Yeah, Sound of Music. Yeah,
there we go. A light bulb just switched on.
So that's filmed there, or it was filmed there, and
every week
it's just ongoing documentary.
The world's longest running continual filming.
Julie Andrews just being tortured by repeatedly
so
being forced to run across those bloody hills.
These kids haven't grown up. So we did that. We wandered around in the castle. We saw. Well, they labelled it as like the torture room.
Oh, it was brilliant.
But it wasn't really. I feel like we were missold.
Yeah, because we went on the tour of what was like the Archbishop's residence, Dan.
Yeah,
which sits on top of this hill on top of
beautiful
Salzburg.
place.
And we paid a bit of extra money to go on this tour, and so they give you this like machine that you can put up to your ear, or you can get like headphones to stick in, and we're all just like, there's about 30 or 40 of us just pottering around this room listening to this audiobook, and suddenly this guy chimes up and goes, the 13th Archbishop of Salzburg was known for his characteristic turnip arms. And me, Pete, Chris, Veronica, Alex and Lisa all looked at each other at the same time and just gave each other that. What did he just say?
What are characteristic turnip arms?
Turnip arms.
Because the images it conjures up are incredible.
Yeah.
He loved turnips. The Archbishop apparently loved them turnips. So his coat of arms,
it's a coat of arms,
was a turnip.
Yeah, rather than like some sort of physical deformity. But there was that, and then they had like there was meant to be like a torture room, but it wasn't really. It was like this torture cupboard. And
it wasn't even a torture cupboard. It was just like
storage.
Well, if you suffer from claustrophobia, that's quite a lot of torture.
Oh, it was Dan. It was a massive cupboard, big as this room, But we walked into there.
Yeah, bigger than Sam's utility room.
Yeah.
And the guy was just like, in this room, you will find some of the torture instruments that they used during the time. This room wasn't used for torture, as it was outlawed in the building. But you can imagine what it might have been like. And Lisa turned around to me and went, so we're just in a cupboard. I was like, yep. We're just in a cupboard that they've hung instruments on the wall that look a little bit tortury.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
That was Salzburg. We made a friend. We made friends with the boy in the local spa.
Yeah, we kept going back and forth because on the first day, Dan, it was gorgeous. As Sam was saying, the sun was shining.
So when you say spa, do you mean a local spa as in a convenience store, or spa as in a luxury?
Yeah, no, Dan. Do you remember when? So obviously we were all in Aberystwyth, and do you remember the spa? The spa.
I remember it well. Many a fun late evening spent there.
The 24-hour spa. Well, in Budapest and in Hungary and Austria, Dan, spa is like Waitrose, and I kid you not, you can get spa. Was it called spa luxury or spa quality?
Or spa gourmet, was it? I can't remember.
It was like
gourmet spa.
Spa is just the supermarket over there. So much so that they have
good.
like spa quality and spa luxury, which is like the Waitrose version of spa. Like if you want to get all the stuff you need to shop, you go to spa. I just imagine like if anyone from Austria or Hungary comes over to this country, they're just like, yeah, they've got a spa here, don't worry.
Oh Jesus.
I can't believe they got a spa in this little village.
There's a guy half asleep in the hot food bucket. Like, it's just. Oh, there's a person who's pushed all the tins over.
But it was great because on the first day, the sun was shining. Sam was saying we just sat by the river, waiting for Pete to turn up, just drinking cider, beer, just on the side of the river, which is gorgeous. Having like a packed lunch that we just bought. I ate so many pretzels, Dan. Oh my gosh, it was incredible. So many pretzels, so little time. But Salzburg was one of those lovely kind of, your chocolate box kind of alpine town, essentially.
Beautiful.
Absolutely incredible.
Mozart everywhere.
Absolutely incredible. Then we went to Vienna.
Yeah. Where we really racked up the miles. Because, of course, even when we're away, we're thinking about the 2018 Around the Houses Challenge. And Chris and I, we went for a run in every city we visited once. And we even went for a lovely bike ride outside of Vienna, up this massive hill. Oh, my God. Jesus. We went 10 kilometres up a hill, and then the best 10 kilometres that I've ever spent on a bike back towards Vienna. Pete had a wonderful time on his bike when the seat collapsed and went inside him.
Yeah, almost. Almost went right up there.
Again, still carrying that book.
Yeah.
60 miles we walked in that holiday. I haven't added that to the sheet actually, because I just thought I'll just pop that out when I need it in case I want to take a break for a month. I'll just pop that. I'll just add that 60 miles on when I need it. When I feel it's necessary.
It's a buffer zone.
Yeah.
But we hired our bikes to this thing called Donkey Republic. I don't know if you heard of this, Dan, where basically it's an app, and basically you order them in advance, and it finds using your GPS on your phone your local pickup point. You walk over to the bike, because there's a number on it, using your Bluetooth, you unlock it, and that's it. Happy days. And you lock it and unlock it from your phone.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
It's really good.
Any problems with your bike, you can just let them know, and you can swap to another one, and then that means that they know, and someone can come and check that bike like its brakes, as it were. And we just went pootling off around Vienna. We stopped off at like a small cafe to use the toilets, and the toilet door, Dan, wasn't a door, it was a shower curtain. And my partner was holding up the curtain for me outside while I was using the toilet.
That's love, that is.
And she properly just let go of it without realising, just displaying me to everyone in the cafe.
Luckily, you hadn't collapsed.
Yeah,
I hadn't at that point. No.
And then Budapest was lovely. We spent more time in Budapest than anywhere else, and I think it was my favourite city. It was lovely.
Yeah.
And also incredibly cheap, which was excellent. And we did an escape room in Budapest, which was unique because it's one of the first ones. They're called like second generation escape rooms,
right?
And they're unique because they don't have any padlocks. or codes. It's all mechanical. So essentially, you're doing your own like 1 hour crystal maze mission all in this room. The highlight being one bit because we were playing like it was like a Day of the Dead themed, like Mexican, like skull kind of themed room. And there's this one bit where there's this coffin, and I turned to Chris and went, Chris, I've got to put you in this coffin. I mean, he still fucked up the puzzle, and I had to go in and sort it out, but it was quite amusing.
No. Because Sam's done so many of these things, you can sense there's this real pressure in his voice that he can't ever go through one without escaping from it within the time limit. See, it gets to a point when you go past the halfway mark where his voice goes like up an octave, and he gets quite nervous, and he gets quite frantic and quite anxious.
Yep. Does he just start taking things off you because you're like, oh, I can do it quicker than this?
Yeah.
He feels the temptation to quarterback. He doesn't, but he feels that temptation and that kind of conflict.
I'm not doing this to be fun. I'm doing this to win.
Yep. 32 years unbeaten, and it was an incredible.
Hang on, wait.
32 years unbeaten.
How long have you been doing escape rooms?
Well, after escaping from the womb.
Exactly, yeah. That was my first escape. You should have seen the locks in there. Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
It was while we were in Budapest that the Bank of Willington opened its doors for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
This was hilarious.
So, if anyone's not aware...
Just from looking at Pete's face, I'm excited by this story.
Oh.
Yeah, so to give you a bit of economics background, in Hungary... £1 gets you about 330 florins. It's about that.
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, we went out for a really nice meal that gave you a migraine, Pete. And it was like a main dish was like a tenner for a really like decent steak or something like that. Yeah. Like the prices are so incredibly cheap, but the economy's so twisted. Like, is 4,000 too much? And you realise it's like £6 or a tenner.
Yeah, and you're just like, well, this is amazing.
So anyway. So we're getting to the end of the holiday. Pete needed a little bit of money.
I need a little bit of cash because if you're going to pick up forints and stuff like that, like if you're going to use money, they kind of want you to use cash a whole bunch. Like you can use card and stuff, but like if you're going to go and see a few things around, it's easier to just pay in cash. So I decided to get out some cash from a cash point, and I thought that would be sensible. I'll get some money out. I'll get out, I don't know, 60 quid, if that. I'm sure that will last us because there's no way that I'm going to be able to, if I go too much more, then basically I would. How would I change it back? I can't do it in the UK because it's not going to be worth it. I'll lose a load of money, so I won't do that. I'll just get a small amount of money out. So I go over to a cash machine and I'm like, English, please, because I can't read the language. So I was like, English, please, and it goes into English, and it was like, how much money would you like to get out? And I said.
Well, not said, because that's probably where you went wrong if that's...
And I said out loud...
£20!
To myself. It was like, how many forints would you like to get out? And I was like, I don't know, like this amount? And I didn't really know how much it was. So it was like, do you want... And it was all denominations of like 5 figures. So I was like, I don't know, the lowest amount, 30,000? Now... Or something along those lines. And then it was basically like, okay, cool. Just to let you know... The amount of money you're taking out is £290. Like, are you okay with this?
Which is about 70, isn't it like 70,000?
It was like, yeah, that must have been it. Like tens and tens and tens of that. That was the smallest amount that I could take out from the thing. So I was like, is this okay? Or would you like another amount? Is this okay? And I was like, no, it's not. No. And then it was like, cool, giving you your cash. And I was like, what?
Cancel.
Chick. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. So then basically, like a Mayday ticker tape parade, like it starts like coming out of the slot, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, and I just jam it.
It was like the end of the Crystal Maze.
And yeah, exactly. I'm just jamming this stuff into my wallet, and I'm like, so then and then everybody else is waiting for me, and Alex is looking at me, and I've clearly made this face of, oh, something's gone wrong.
Again, the book
was with me all the time, and I said, I think I might have taken out like 260 quid's worth of cash by mistake. So then we decided the smart thing would be for me to be the Bank of Willington. So if we needed cash between us, then I would loan out the money interest free because I'm a good banker.
But Dan, I borrowed like 80 quid off him.
It
lasted 2 days. It's just so cheap. It's so like you just couldn't give it away.
No, just like I'll just take it. And
it was like going to my parent.
Oh God! So I was just like, "How much do you need?" There we go. But it was good. I learned what it would be like if I was in finance. Yeah, if I was some sort of loan shark.
Have you been paid back now, Pete, or are you sending the boys round?
I think so. Yeah, I'm going to take his shins.
You thought it was the washing machine that put the staples in Chris.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Chris just didn't see you coming.
I don't remember anything, Peter. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, just subliminal messages like implanted in Budgie the little helicopter.
Yeah.
Pay me back, Budgie the little helicopter.
But Dan, if you ever wanted to know what it's like to go on holiday in Wellington, he did not disappoint. I think like one of my several highlights. One was that when you go to certain like theme park areas and there'll be like almost like a cardboard cutout of a hole to put your head through. There were so many of those I just wanted to put, and we just kept putting Pete's head through them, taking pictures of him. Listening, Pete, just abroad, Dan, just in terms of his wonderful, amiable character, just listening to him booking a table for us, reserving a table in the restaurant was just beautiful.
I imagine Pete as someone who would kind of try and be polite and try and do it kind of in not necessarily in the language of the country he's in, but at least the accent of the country that he's in.
No, Dan. No.
None of that.
Hello, I'm Peter Willington.
Oh, he went full English.
Yeah.
There will be 6 of us. We would like to book the table for 8 o'clock. Thank you very much. No. He was so British.
Yeah.
When we went to that restaurant for that booking, he turned up and went, "Hello, I'm Peter," and they went, "This way." Like they knew immediately who it was. Like,
yeah, they were like not having any of it, were they? But yeah, they and I think that was it because what my plan of attack with this side of things is I can't speak the language and like I'm not polite enough to try and learn. And also, I kind of feel like I'd stumble over it anyway. And also, when they respond, I'm not going to know what they're saying. So I kind of just go as English as I possibly can, and then hope that the.
But you are English,
exactly,
and very English anyway. I don't. Why do you feel the need to put extra on there?
No, but it's up to 11, Dan. So
why do you need to add sauce on top of the Wellington burger?
Basically, what I do is I sort of hope that the movies that star Hugh Grant still sort of fly over there, like that kind of like I'm English and completely useless. Please help.
Because
and then
I've always, to be fair, Pete, I've always thought of you as the next Hugh Grant. I really have.
Yeah. Was he the one who put the hamster up his arse?
no.
Which one was he?
Wasn't it Richard Gere? Wasn't that something that just kind of followed Richard Gere out for
Richard
years?
Gere.
Yeah, that's right.
Even though there was no basis in truth, but for some reason someone had told that story and he just stuck around.
Oh, that's a brilliant. I always think of them as almost interchangeable, but they're not in any way.
Hugh Grant and Richard Gere?
Yeah.
They're not even close to being interchangeable.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, they have both wooed Julia Roberts.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe it's that.
What are the 2 films, Pete? There we go.
Pretty Woman.
That was really good.
Well, from me or Pete?
I mean, Sam, what's the music for the next one?
It was sung by Ronan Keating, Sam.
What was it? Life is a roller coaster.
No.
The smile on your face lets me know that you need me. There's a truth in your eyes saying you'll never leave me.
Yeah, and that's the legally longest amount we can sing that.
Singing is a very loose term there, Pete.
I don't know. Is it because was he also in Love Actually?
Yes, as the Prime Minister.
Yeah, that's the one where he bangs Julia Roberts.
Nope. Nope.
I mean, listeners. I mean, it sounds like it doesn't sound like. I mean, It sounds like you're the one with the head injury.
And just kind of like that train of thought going from actor to actor and Pete's misunderstandings.
Oh, I don't know.
Is Love Actually the one where he bangs Julia Roberts?
What a guy.
So
the film you were looking for was Notting Hill.
Notting Hill. Yeah, I didn't see that. So I want to talk about. I want us to talk about Infinity War because we have seen it.
Yes,
and this is also the final point at which, like, listener, hello, we don't often talk to you direct.
Jump off the train.
Yeah, jump off the train because if you don't want to, if you haven't watched it, you probably want to skip this.
This train is heading to Spoiler Town.
Yeah,
but before you go,
go on.
Cinema Grift update.
Go on.
It's not a grift. It's not a grift.
It is. So Peter joined me for the grift.
I did, yeah.
How was your grift experience?
The grift experience was pretty tip-top. I felt like a bit of a plonker going in for it, but when I walked away from the condescending man who sort of looked at me as if I was trash...
Because you were buying a child's lunchbox.
Yeah, because I was buying a lunchbox. I sort of walked away from there with a feeling of elation that I dicked over Cineworld.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It was great.
It's great.
Yeah, it is a bit of a grift.
And I can now share with you the grift update, which is a little bit of added spice to your grift. If you get one of these munch boxes, this is my advice to everyone. Is that so? The grift consists of the munch box is popcorn, sweet or salted, or salted sweet. You've opened my eyes to another world, Peter, because you could actually get water. I just thought it was orange and apple and blackberry Capri Sun, but you can ask for water.
Yep.
So it's got even better.
Yep.
And
as long as it's not sparkling.
Bloody. And also a bag of Magic Stars.
Yeah.
Pretty standard.
Yeah.
But you want to spice up your cinema viewing? Open up those bag of Magic Stars, pour them in the popcorn, give it a little shake. And
cheeky.
Suddenly Infinity War just got a lot more surprising. I was like, what would it be? Popcorn or Magic Stars? Don't want to know. Sometimes combining the two.
That's a lovely mix.
Well, I mean, what was surprising for me was the fact that I knew Sam was going to do this grift.
Yeah.
It's not a grift.
But I bought a large popcorn for me and Pete to share. And I turned around and he's bought himself his own little grift box. I felt really bad because I really wanted to actually do that. Actually, I felt really left out. I felt really silly for not swallowing my pride.
Also,
so instead you swallowed a large popcorn.
Yeah, and look how well that served me. All that extra salt.
Cineworld, Cineworld are in on the grift as well. They're like they're people. They're people who are there. They're like whenever that beeps through that box, they must be thinking they know.
Someone's on it.
Yeah,
Someone
knows. Okay, so this is the point where we're going to spoil Infinity Wars.
Spoilers ahoy! Spoilers ahoy!
Okay, right, fine.
Hear ye! Spoilers ahoy!
So
it's all right, isn't it?
It is.
Now, because you guys all watched it together. I saw it a few days beforehand, before you guys.
All right, show off.
Sam, you were very clear you didn't want to hear anything from me, so I gave you no information whatsoever. Did you stay till the end?
Yeah.
I thought you would. Okay.
Well, that we only stayed to the end because everyone I text asking if I should stay to the end didn't respond in time. Otherwise, we would have left.
Well, if you'd asked me, should you stay till the end, I would have said yes.
I did.
No. You said, did I stay? And you said, and I said yes.
Oh, yeah, because I was just going to ask you afterwards. Yeah.
I assumed you would stay because of the lack of a standard...
pre-credit sting.
Yeah, pre-credit sting. So, yeah, long story short, they lost. The Avengers lost.
Yep.
The film played out exactly as I thought it would. Maybe not exactly in terms of scene by scene, but... what happened at the end, and I expected that because I know how narrative works, and I know there's a second half of this film, and when you've built up a character and a baddie for 10 years, he can't be defeated in 2 hours. That just wouldn't make no sense. And so he had to win.
If he had have lost, I still wouldn't have been disappointed. I would have thought that's a bloody good movie.
It depends on the nature of how he lost. Because if he lost by tripping over a twig and hurting himself, and they just stuck some handcuffs on him,
and all the stones just fell out.
Stan Lee shoots him.
Yeah, and like Iron Man just kind of stamps on a couple of them, and that's it. Yeah, that wouldn't have been great. Yeah, I loved it. I think one of the best things about it was the fact that Thanos was the main character. Yeah. I think obviously Marvel have had problems with villains for most of their films. Not every single one, but most of their films. You've got Loki has been the only kind of bad guy really who's made a bigger impact. Whereas by having him as that lead character, we know all the other characters. We know the kind of what Iron Man's about and Captain America's about and all that stuff. But given that time to let that character of Thanos just breathe and get to know who he is, and both at times make him almost sympathetic, was a really interesting way of going about it. So when he does the horrible things that he does, you're kind of you're a little bit torn because you know why he's doing it and what he's done in the past. I think some of the relationships between him and Gamora are lovely. I don't know how much you want to go into spoiler territory. I don't want to just openly say individual bits of the film.
we've all seen it.
I mean, you've already spoiled the ending, Dan, so anything in the meantime...
We've all seen it, and, like, if somebody's listening now, then, like, they should also have seen it, or they don't care. So,
yeah. Right, Pete, you're an interesting case, because...
Full stop.
Thank you. That's what my teachers always said. Yeah, go on.
You've not seen all the Marvel films.
Not all of them, but most of them.
The last one you saw before this was Civil War?
Yep.
Yeah, so in terms of, like, out of all of us, you probably had the least invested in the franchise.
I don't know.
You did. If you were invested in the franchise, you would have seen all the films.
That's true.
So.
That's true. Okay, that's true. So I'm glad I watched as many movies as I had before I watched Infinity War, because that movie, if you go into that thinking, and you've never seen a Marvel movie before, I think the only thing you would take away from it is, wow, that's a pretty film of nonsense. Yeah. Because it's really just it's a good versus evil story with a load of stuff that you won't get. Like, why is this person angry with this person, but they're sort of on the same side? And I thought this guy was Captain America, but he doesn't look anything like that. And who are these characters?
Where's his shield?
Where's his shield? And hold on, there's this nation that nobody can see, that's more technologically superior to everybody else. Okay, who? Wait a second. Why has the God of Thunder not got an eye? But
it's also lines like when Bruce Banner first kind of explains to Tony Stark who Thanos is. He explains him by saying he was behind New York. No other explanation other than he was behind New York. Yeah. Obviously, you know the films, you know exactly what he's talking about. If you don't, then I don't understand what that means.
Yeah, I think the main takeaway I got from it is this is a really good film version of a comic book crossover event that Marvel has clearly earned over 10 years. And the reason that they can make this, the reason that those crossover events work when they work, is because the people who read them are so invested in a bunch of the characters in that space that they want to see how all of their characters in, let's say, for example, in the DC universe on Crisis on Infinite Earths, they want to find out which of the Supermen make it through alive, which of the, what happens to Batman, what happens to the various versions of the Flash. Like, how does that work out? Whereas, if, like me, you read in Crisis on Infinite Earths and you didn't really know any of that stuff, it's just a really boring, big fight. And I think that is what this film would have been if I hadn't seen those things. I really did like the film. I think we're just going to talk about how great it is anyway, so I may as well throw my critical sense into it. One of the things that I think that didn't quite work for me is, though Thanos is a somewhat sympathetic villain. And you can see the logical steps behind what he's trying to do, as in the method that he is using to bring equality into the universe by wiping out 50% of the population. I can sort of just about get my head around that. But he never really goes into why he chooses that as the option. He never really chooses. No, they never really go into why on his planet he was sat there thinking about genocide in the first place.
I think it was his upbringing. I think like a similar kind of genocidal event he instated was because his population had grown so much that they couldn't actually support themselves, and he made this decision.
But he says explicitly, "I don't want that to happen again." So instead of using
not the genocide. No, not the genocide. He instated the genocide. He doesn't want it to kind of reach its critical mass, exceed it, and then everyone.
Exactly. So he doesn't want that to happen to like a civilization again. So he destroys 50% of everything instead of maybe using the Infinity Gauntlet to produce double the amount of like supplies,
because he can,
or turn back time to a simpler point, fix things.
Like at this,
or
it's a I mean, it's a tricky thing to kind of debate, really, because he is the Mad Titan. That's his nickname. But it's one of those weird things like that when they've in cities where they've introduced extra lanes, it's not actually lessened traffic, because what it's done is it's just created space to create more cars and
But
so it's a tricky one.
But that so I do think that there are plot holes, but I get the feeling that some of those plot holes aren't actually plot holes. They're very deliberately placed in there to that they'll answer them in the second of the films. So there are little moments where, like for example, Thanos says, "Oh, I know who you are, Tony Stark." Like the burden of knowledge is not just something you have to bear, and I get the feeling that in the second film, there's going to be some of these sort of loose threads are going to be tied up. I certainly hope so, because otherwise they're sort of just saying phrases that sound interesting but don't actually go anywhere. So there is a little bit of that, but I mean, all in all, like this is a film in which a god gets blasted by a star to create an ultimate weapon. In this incredible cosmic battle, this is,
and it makes sense,
and it is, and you're rooting for them, and like, it isn't just it's not hokey. Like, you're sat there going, "Yep, okay, I'm in." Like, you've earned this.
I did cry twice.
Did you have a little weepy?
Yeah, I did.
Hang on. Can we guess? Because I reckon one of them was one of them Peter Parker at the end.
I was about to say that.
Yeah,
that was just, oh gosh.
It wasn't Rory's graduation level of crying, but
no,
there were tears.
Nothing's that level, Sam.
No. That was one of them. Peter Parker.
Was the one of the other ones involving Gamora?
No.
I must admit, the Gamora thing, chuck her off. I don't care. Sling her in. I don't believe this relationship whatsoever. Sling her in, mate.
What relationship don't you believe?
I just don't believe that he loved her. Like, I just can't believe it. He's like, "Oh, it actually turns out he loved you all along." No, he was abusive. Like, sorry, I'm not buying into this. Like, "Oh, but I actually loved you all along." No, you didn't. You murdered everybody that she knew and treated her like absolute dog shit. Like,
I was okay with that character development, because he could be an evil person and still be able to love someone who he thought of as a daughter.
Absolutely not. Like, that is not, like, the prophecy says you have to trade a soul for a soul, and it has to be somebody that you love. And like, if the prophecy's definition of love is what Thanos did, like, you could chuck in anything. Just like, "Oh yeah, here you go, take her." "Oh no, yeah, totally loved her." Like, no.
Sam, was the other one Vision?
Yeah.
Really?
Vision,
Two for two.
Wanda killing Vision. Because essentially, what the interesting thing about Infinity War is, it's essentially a film about sacrifice.
Yeah.
In a lot of the film, there's two people who are debating and dealing with the idea of sacrificing themselves for this cause, which is really interesting in the Marvel universe because it's something that's not really been touched on before. Like there's always a debate about whether they should be doing something for the greater good or, giving up their life to fight, an alien, but never the thought. This is the first time really that they've had serious discussions that my life might end tonight. Like we are facing up against something bigger than we ever faced before. So, Tony's finally coming to the realization that this will be his last run. Will he sacrifice his life? Vision is trying to convince Wanda to sacrifice him when the time comes to it. The same goes for Gamora and
Star-Lord.
And the same is for Thanos and Gamora. When the time comes for him, is he going to sacrifice? Whether he does or doesn't, the only thing that he's loved. That's what that's what the film is about. It's about sacrifice. So I think the two characters that it came across a lot was Vision and Wanda. I love that bit where she's actually just because of the amount of energy that she had to put into that moment to actually kill him.
Which then made it all the more heartbreaking when basically with a click of the fingers, all that emotion is undone. You go through all that. And
no, it's hard. It's not heartbreaking because it's undone. It's heartbreaking because it was wasted. The fact that like all that effort that's gone into it and all that 10 years of fighting and build up has just been undone by a click of the fingers, and it's kind of like that idea of sacrifice is such a powerful emotion, and that it just that whole rigmarole, that whole discussion has just been wasted just by a click of the fingers. Just like all everything that turmoil that the characters have gone through. I mean, generally, as a film overall, I think it is pretty much perfectly paced. I mean, it starts at 1,000,000 miles an hour and never stops until Captain America and the boring squad turn up. But
I love that bit. I thought that was the first kind of fist pumping moment of, okay, here we go. The music kicks in, and suddenly you're like, here we go again. I love that bit.
I got chills when Captain America was there because I thought, perfect addition to that moment. Yeah. But it's not like Peter Quill dancing on the thing, and it's not like Doctor Strange in that first opening bit where everything's just zipping along. It's kind of like, right, let's get serious now. Captain America and Black Widow and Falcon have arrived. Yeah. Let's actually sort this problem out, boys. Come on, stop messing around. Yeah. We're the boring squad and we'll deal with this once and for all. Ta-da! Like, it's... And inevitably, there was a point in the film where it actually dipped because you cannot keep that level up for forever. And essentially, the humour in Marvel does kind of save the day because I just thought, if this was DC, they would have stripped out all the jokes
and the colour,
all the colour, 2 3/4 hours of just
great
ponderous. Captain America style boring people talking about how serious the situation is and not laughing about it.
Yeah. But like the other really super cool thing is like how they got across the scale at which these people are fighting. So when Thanos is able to destroy a satellite and bring it hurtling towards the planet that they're on, basically...
when he basically broke up a moon and threw it at them.
Like, that is... Like, that kind of thing is... When you describe it, obviously it sounds absolutely ludicrous, but the way that it is portrayed in the film and, some amazing acting...
Because it mirrors a moment in Civil War where Bucky shoots Tony Stark in the face. And Tony Stark manages to move the gun out of his face just at the last second. And that shock on his face where someone's just shot me, like he's gone for me, like a guy I know has just gone for me. And like it's mirrored there in when it's just like, oh, he's throwing a moon at me. this is escalation.
Yeah,
This is serious now. This is not something I can avoid or build technology to defend myself against.
Yeah.
This is a moon.
Yeah.
And I love those kind of harkings back. So at the very beginning, where Loki and Thanos are having that face-off, and Loki just says, "We have a Hulk," and that's a line that's riffed from the first Avengers film.
Yeah.
And you in your head, you're thinking about, okay, who's going to really challenge Thanos here? And obviously, your mind will come to the Hulk because he's dispatched with so many people so quickly. And here you see the Hulk getting the crap kicked out of him within the first 5 minutes. And suddenly, the kind of trump card of the Avengers, the big guns, has just been dispatched. And it's that fear that the Hulk has that makes him cower behind Banner throughout most of the film. And from the get-go, you realise that this is not going to be any other kind of villain.
Which is exactly the same as, like, immediately afterwards with Loki and kind of Loki's death, because again, all through, ever since he came in, Loki was always someone who could talk his way out of any situation, and he could do whatever he wanted because he had the gift of the gab to be able to do what he wanted. And then to have him killed in such a brutal way, to basically just have his neck slowly crushed, was horrible. And you mentioned kind of the Avengers. I was reminded of I remember a line that Loki delivers in the first Avengers, where I think Nick Fury says to him that we have no quarrel with you, and his response is, as an ant has no quarrel with a boot. And I think in the Avengers, that's kind of Loki being kind of very boasting about his superiority and very kind of full of himself. Whereas in Infinity War, that's genuinely how Thanos feels. He doesn't care. I love the fact that he doesn't care about the Avengers. He doesn't see them as a threat, really. I think there's a brief moment where Mantis has put him under kind of her spell, and that they nearly get the glove off him. But other than that,
that's great.
He doesn't care about the Avengers. And once he's got all but the Mind Stone, and he shows up in Wakanda, and he just literally bats all of the Avengers away as they attack him with just a stroke of his hand, and they just fall away. They're nothing to him. And that's what I love, that fact of there wasn't a thing of, it wasn't personal or anything like that. He was just like, I'm just going to walk straight through you and take what I want because I can, and this is who I am. And that's why it did remind me of that line of an ant has no quarrel with a boot, because Thanos just steps on everyone.
To be honest, it was a gut punch. The whole film was a gut punch. Obviously I had a bigger gut punch later. I'm still kind of, from an Infinity War to an Infinity Ward, I'm still kind of reading over these kind of the ideas and stuff that happened in the film. But yeah, completely earned. And I cannot wait to see what's going to happen next in part 2 with all these different factions, these different groups, these different IPs scattered throughout the universe.
It's going to be exceedingly weird going backwards in time now with the next 2 films. Like, it feels really like it almost feels like a misstep. Like, at the moment, I could take a year between this and just the next Avengers film coming out. Like, and I would be really happy with that.
Yeah.
But it feels almost like a misstep, and I know that's.
I would agree in the sense of, because I think you're talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp as well, and I think Ant-Man and the Wasp feels like it doesn't belong next to Infinity War.
I think it could. What I mean by going back in time to pre-Infinity War stuff. So both Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel, which is important, will be set pre-Infinity War.
I think Captain Marvel doesn't bother me in the slightest, because when I imagined what was going to happen, my thought of what would happen in that film would be Thanos was going to win, but right at the end they would introduce Captain Marvel. I didn't realise it would be the end credits scene that they would introduce Captain Marvel, because what that would do is that basically gives you okay, there's a bit of hope, and then you get a whole film to introduce a character who you can then drop seamlessly into the next film and say, here's your ready-made character, because we know everyone who's going to watch the next Avengers film will have probably seen Captain Marvel, so we can drop him and we don't have to worry about any kind of origin story, or don't have to worry about explaining who this character is, because we're giving ourselves an entire film to do that.
Yeah. So
that's your origin story, and you can drop her in straight away. And obviously there's so much heavy lifting to do again in the next Avengers film that having her there ready-made as kind of the Great White Hope, to speak, I think that is necessary. Ant-Man and the Wasp is a different kettle of fish, but I think Captain Marvel, I think it's necessary to have that falling between Infinity War and Infinity War Part 2, or whatever it's going to be called.
Are we all agreed that the best bit about that post-credit sting was realising that Arrested Development and the MCU are all in the same universe?
Oh, so good.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So amazing.
I kind of want to see it again to spot him, but seeing Tobias Funke in the in Avengers Infinity War, I've looked it up. I can't remember what scene he's in, but
it's in the collector's, one of the collector's glass cases.
Oh, is
when
he?
Thanos goes to meet, so behind Benicio del Toro.
Is he there as a never nude?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant!
I don't think it is David Cross. It's someone that looks like him. You see what I mean?
Well, yeah, because they would have said David Cross in the credits, but it's just characters from, or a character from Arrested Development or whatever.
I made some notes to try and remember everything I wanted to talk about, and kind of
oh my God.
some of the notes that I've left that I put Hawkeye ? And the other one is Giant Dinklage.
Oh, that was awful. That was the worst.
That was the worst bit.
That was weird.
It was terrible.
Yeah, that was rubbish.
It was really bad.
He really was phoning that in.
I don't think it was the fact that he was phoning. It was like they tried to play this joke on the fact that he was a giant dwarf, which I felt was a little bit insensitive. And then they gave him a weird voice which didn't ring true. And it was kind of at a point of the film where I felt like, as an audience member, I didn't need any of those distractions. Like, the film was ramping up and ramping up and ramping up again after that drop. And we the great thing about the viewing that we went to is there was a bunch of kids in front of us, none of whom knew about the Great Grift because they had like massive boxes of
Idiots.
M&Ms and
Idiots.
water, and they needed to go out to the toilet all the time. Just losers. But like, it was great. It was like that thing that J.M. Barrie did when he was like exhibiting Peter Pan, like getting kids to sit next to the adults, so then they would get just excited as the kids. Like, a great idea. So like when the big Wakanda battle happened, they were like sitting in their chairs, bouncing up and down. I turned to Pete, and there he was sitting up and down. Turned to Chris, and there he was still eating his popcorn. Like, and
I was done by then. I'd gotten halfway through by the time
he was done by the opening credits finished.
and then it was just like big ramping up, and it's just like, now here's time for Peter Dinklage. It's just like, oh, like I would have been much happier if it was just like Thor doing that on his own or something else. It was just an unnecessary distraction.
Yeah, it was really strange that they would, for that character, they would bring in such a recognisable actor and not have him in any way kind of physically changed CGI-wise or anything like that. It just seemed very strange to have just Peter Dinklage with no makeup or anything like that, really, just dropped in there. It was very strange.
And to be honest, he did f*** all. Because all he did, if you think about it, was put a mould in a thing, lose a handle, and just tell Thor how to get the forge working, which he kind of seemed to have a good idea of how to do in the first place.
But he knew where the mould was.
Could have just left a note, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like the place had already been destroyed other than this one mould, so it was kind of obvious. It was just an unnecessary distraction, and it's with that kind of film, like, it's very important that that like you don't lose the pace, and when you can, and if you know that it's going to happen, when you know it picks up again, like, to keep it going. And I think that was one of a couple of realizations I had. The second one was that, like, this is going to be those kids' Star Wars, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, and that jealousy that I didn't have that when I was a kid. I didn't have like a Star Wars or a Harry Potter or anything like that. And I know that someone's commented to you about this before, Pete, that it feels like with Infinity War, like this is the last of the films that are being made for us.
Yeah.
And now the films are going to start being made for this other generation, like kids that are 9, 10, 11, 12, who are coming through and watching the Marvel films. And you could kind of hear some of that Infinity War, like the jokes and the quips and that thing to just keep it a little bit lighter and frothier, just keep it like the seriousness just bubbling underneath a little bit. And like the kids that are in front of us, one of them got up twice and was just like, I'm scared, Dad, I'm scared. And I'm just like, yes, that's me at 9 years old watching Masters of the Universe and hiding behind my sofa at Skeletor.
Yeah.
Like, this for those kids is going to be their Star Wars. They're going to grow up and show their kids the Marvel Universe. And it's just really interesting that I was always really pensive about these films carrying on forever, but it's quite reassuring to know that they're now not making those films for me. like they have considered that these are going to be films for the next generation and generations before then. So it was really adorable to watch. It was great. And that was Staying In with myself, Sam Turner, Peter Willington, Daniel Frost, and Chris Darby, who I can tell you is recovering absolutely fine. He should have the staples out of his head in the next few days. So we wish him all the best, but it's looking like he'll be absolutely fine and he'll recover beautifully. Thanks to you for listening to this episode and making it this far. We apologise that it was so delayed, but as you can now understand, we had some things to deal with over the weekend. If you want to make sure that you get the podcast as soon as it's available, then the easiest thing to do is to subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Mixcloud, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts from. And while you're there, if you'd like to leave a review, then we'd be really grateful. Visit stayingin.podbean.com for more information and links to all the things we've covered in this episode, plus links to our Steam Curator and Board Game Geek pages. You can find us on Twitter on @StayingInPod, which is essential for this episode because you need to see those pictures of Chris. They'll probably also be up on facebook.com/StayingInPodcast. So thanks very much for listening, and as a thank you for you to listening, here is something that Chris recorded live from the streets of Budapest. I present to you Peter Willington, A White Man Abroad.
Hello there, is that Central Bistro?
Cellar.
Oh, sorry, do you speak English? Sometimes. Excellent. Yes, that's right. Excellent. I'd like to book a table for 6 for tonight, if that's possible. Not
Six people.
7 o'clock? Yep. My name is Peter Willington. Okay, brilliant. Looking forward to it. Thanks. Bye.